Robert Taylor was one of the most famous and successful leading men of the golden age of Hollywood. He was admired for his strapping good looks and his reputation for being a reliable, clean-cut actor. He was perhaps best known as, quote, the man with the perfect profile. But behind that illustrious veneer, his life story was far from perfect. For one thing, his death was a long, drawn-out affair that was full of suffering and heartbreak. He died of lung cancer at St. John's Hospital in Santa Monica in 1969 at the age of 57. In October of 1968, he went in to have surgery to remove a portion of his right lung after doctors informed him he likely had contracted a fungal infection known as valley fever. During the operation, they discovered he had lung cancer. While Robert Taylor certainly met a regrettable end, the rest of his life was also replete with struggles and adversity. Let's take a look back on his life story. The making of a star. Robert Taylor was born Spangler Arlington Brew in Philly, Nebraska on August 5, 1911. His father, Spangler Andrew Brew, was a grain farmer who later on studied medicine and eventually became a doctor. He did so to treat his wife who had a rare illness that she had since she was little. With his newfound medical knowledge, Brew was actually able to successfully cure her of her disease. Taylor's family moved several times before settling in Beatrice, Nebraska, where Robert attended high school. He was an exceptionally intelligent young man and one of the most gifted athletes on his track team. Taylor played cello in the school orchestra, and for 2 years, beginning in 1929, he attended Doane College in Crete, Nebraska, where he was a member of the Doane String Quartet. Around that time, Taylor joined the theater group The Doane Players and made his first stage appearance in a production of the play Helena Boys in 1929. Music was Taylor's true love, and in 1931, he moved to Claremont, California, where he enrolled at Pomona College to study cello. But as time went on, he became more and more interested in theater. While at Pomona, he performed in a handful of plays, such as The Importance of Being Earnest and Camille. While in a college production in 1932, an MGM talent scout was in attendance, and after the show, he offered Taylor a screen test. After graduating in 1934, Taylor signed a 7-year deal with MGM for $35 a week, which incidentally made him the lowest paid actor in recorded history. It was after signing with MGM he officially changed his name to Robert Taylor, and like that, a star was born. Hey, if you're enjoying this video so far, be sure to give it a like, and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. And stick around to see how starring in a controversial film in 1944 made him one of the most despised people in Hollywood. Taylor's budding film career. Taylor made his film debut late in 1934 while on loan to 20th Century Fox in a supporting role in the film Handy Andy alongside Will Rogers. After doing a few more films, including Barry Duluth and Crime Does Not Pay, Taylor landed his first leading role in a Universal Pictures film called Magnificent Obsession, which hit theaters in 1935, and featured actress Irene Dunne as his co-star. Suddenly, Robert Taylor was seen as a romantic actor. After co-starring with Greta Garbo in the 1935 film adaptation of Camille, he became one of the most sought-after stars of his time, with a fan mail base that even Clark Gable couldn't compete with. Throughout the remainder of the 30s, Taylor appeared as a leading man in a handful of films in various genres, such as the musicals Broadway Melody of 1936 and Broadway Melody of 1938. He also appeared in the comedy A Yank at Oxford, which was filmed in England in 1938 and co-starred Vivien Leigh. A couple years later, he starred alongside Leigh once again in Mervyn LeRoy's Waterloo Bridge. In the early 40s, Taylor began to change his clean-cut image by appearing in darker, grittier film roles. In 1941, he portrayed the titular character in the film Billy the Kid, and a year later, he played a ruthless gangster in the film Johnny Eager alongside Lana Turner. Taylor served in the U.S. Naval Air Corps. After America joined World War II, Taylor appeared in 2 critically acclaimed war films, Stand By for Action and Baton. Shortly after production wrapped on the latter, Taylor enlisted in the U.S. Naval Air Corps as a lieutenant. The military ended up classifying him as too old for active duty, so he became a flight instructor for 3 years, from 1943 to 46. During these years, Taylor both starred in and directed several instructional films, and in 1944, he narrated the propaganda film The Fighting Lady, which was all about life aboard an aircraft carrier during wartime. Also that year, he appeared in another propaganda film, albeit rather reluctantly, called Song of Russia, in which he portrayed an American classical conductor who falls in love with a Russian woman. After the war ended, that film would cause him many problems years later, but we'll get to that in a minute. After the war ended, Taylor returned to MGM, where he continued to develop his darker image. In 1946, he starred in the noir film Undercurrent with Katharine Hepburn Washburn and Robert Mitchum. A year later, he played a suspected killer in the film High Wall. Robert Taylor turned on his communist colleagues. The House Committee on Un-American Activities was a special investigative committee formed in 1938 to investigate any person or organization suspected of having communist ties or sympathies. In 1947, Taylor was called before the committee to testify about communism in Hollywood. They grilled him on his performance in Song of Russia, and he expressed his belief that it was most definitely communist propaganda, and added he didn't want to do it in the first place. He later retracted his statement and told the committee's chairman, John Parnell Thomas, that he was in no way coerced to do the film. Taylor handed over the names of actors Howard Da Silva and Karen Morley, as well as Song of Russia's screenwriter Lester Coles, to the committee. Their careers were badly tarnished by the hearings, and Cole was given a stiff prison sentence and told he could never write again under his own name. These three people were all members of the Communist Party and were all also identified by other witnesses. But Taylor was the first to actually name names. As a result, his reputation was severely damaged. The fallout from this episode continued to haunt him for years. There were several attempts to ban his films in France, and in Hungary and Czechoslovakia, his movies were actually banned. Taylor's career took a downturn after the war. Robert Taylor continued to draw crowds to theaters for quite some time, but as he aged, his appeal began to diminish, as did the quality of the movies he appeared in. That being said, his portrayal of General Marcus Vicinius in 1950's Quo Vadis was exceptionally well received. He followed that film up by appearing in Ivanhoe and Knights of the Round Table and The Adventures of Quentin Durward in 1953. All these films were popular, but none fared quite as well as Quo Vadis. Throughout his career, Taylor was often accused of being just a pretty face and not a great actor. In the 50s, he intended on combating that criticism by taking on more challenging roles, but despite his best efforts, he wasn't quite able to fully shake his reputation. During the second half of the 50s, he appeared in a handful of westerns, including Many Rivers to Cross in 1955, The Law and Jake Wade in 58, and The Hangman in 59. In 1959, Taylor appeared on TV for the first time in the series Detectives. The series did well in the ratings and ran for 3 years. His film career wound down in the 60s, but he still managed to appear in several moderately successful films, like Cattle King and Return of the Gunfighter. His last role was on the TV series Death Valley Days. He took over the role of narrator when his friend, Ronald Reagan, took off to pursue his political career. Taylor remained with the series until he died in 1969. A failed marriage and one that stuck. Robert Taylor was married twice. His first wife was actress Barbara Stanwyck, whom he married in 1939. They'd been dating since 1936 when they co-starred together in the film His Brother's Wife. When they started living together, MGM's Louis B. Mayer convinced them to legally marry to avoid bad press and gossip. They didn't have any children and ended in a bitter divorce in 1951. This was after Taylor cheated on his wife with an Italian starlet while filming Quo Vadis. After the divorce, Stanwyck spitefully auctioned off their house in Bel Air with all of its contents and proceeded to collect 15% of Taylor's earnings up until his death. Taylor's second wife was Ursula Tice, a German-born actress whom he was wed to in 1954. Ursula gave up her career to raise a family with Taylor. They had 2 children together, 1 boy and 1 girl. Taylor also became stepdad to 2 of Ursula's children from a previous marriage. Taylor and Tice lived a humble life out of the spotlight in a large ranch in Brentwood, Los Angeles, up until his death. Now it's time to hear from you. Before you go, take a moment to let us know in the comments section what your favorite memory of Robert Taylor is. And be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to FactsVerse if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.